All right, what's going on, everybody? Excuse me there. Excuse me there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you. I had a great start here. I already got my throat all jacked up. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the post-game show tonight. Going live right after the game. Lakers over the Utah Jazz, 108 to 106. They survive. Survive is the right way to put it. Couple different ways to look at this game. You could look at it where it looks like the Lakers were basically sleepwalking for four quarters, or you could look at it like Luka Doncic, who said, did we get the win? I think we got the win. That's all that matters. Lakers do survive. They do win the game, and they do find themselves now 12-4 on the season. So a lot to get into in this post-game show. We'll kind of let people start trickling in and, obviously give our thoughts on the game best we can from an analysis perspective. Get a chance to listen to other people out there are going to give their opinion on the game and everything else. And as you guys can tell, these last couple of games, I'm pretty much just I'm doing the post game show right after the game now. As long as I have the ability to do it, that's what I'm doing. All right, let's talk a little bit about it. Lakers survive. I'm going to use that word survive. Listen, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I don't think we're going to look at this game down the road during the season and say, hey, remember that game against the Jazz? Lakers were excellent. They were unbelievable. They did everything they needed to do to win that game. That's certainly not going to happen because the game was ugly. And it's not a game that was memorable from a Laker perspective. I don't think anybody's going to look at this game and really point out how many great things happened during the contest. I don't think that's going to happen. However, what I will say is this. It's a lot better to talk about the Lakers playing poorly or really struggling to close out the game in the fourth quarter. It's a lot better to talk about that in a win than in a loss, even though I'm with probably a lot of people that are on here. That wasn't a good brand of basketball. It just wasn't. I understood the sleepwalking a little bit in the game, going down. At one point, Lakers were up 10, and the next thing you see, Utah's got a 5-point lead. But I did think when the Lakers went up 10 or 11 points there in the fourth quarter, you thought they would just close it out. That's the part that maybe bothered me the most about the game. They won 108-106. You take the W and you move on, but just not enough killer instinct towards that the end of that fourth quarter. Not enough, hey, let's wrap this up. Let's have the Lakers just completely take any momentum from the Utah Jazz. Let's start making that Jazz crowd start to leave with 3 minutes left to go in the game because everybody knows the game is over. That was not the case. So the Jazz did go on a run. Lauri Markkanen definitely went on a run. And when you went up by 11, I'm sure that J.J. Redick's going to look back on this game and say, you got to step on the throat of teams like this, especially teams that aren't that good in the Utah Jazz, because any other team that the Lakers would have been playing tonight, a good team, what I'm referring to, a team that you feel is going to be in the mix at some point. Any other team that's in that predicament or that situation and you play that poorly towards the end of the game, Lakers would have lost this game. So something to keep in mind. Again, I'm sure there's some people going to say, oh, don't be too critical. They won the game. Lakers can play a lot better. I think we all kind of understand that. Lakers are a better team than what they showed tonight. They did find a way to win and move on, and we'll take the W. But certainly there were some moments during this game where it was frustrating. It just wasn't a smooth game, a clean game. I don't know if this had something to do with it. I haven't done a post-game show since Tuesday night, which seems like an eternity ago. A lot has happened in the last, 5 days, 6 days, or whatever the case is. And I think there's a little bit of rust. Can I say that there's a little bit of rust? Is that fair for me to say that they didn't look like the same Lakers team that we watched for a little bit of a stretch there? It felt like they were off for 5 days. So I'm sure to have games back, now you got another game on Tuesday. I'm sure the Lakers will look better on Tuesday than they did on Sunday. All right, let me get into some of the individual performances here real quick. And I'm going to have some compliments, and I'm going to also be a little critical when I can. Luka did have 33 tonight, struggled from the field. If there's one area of Luka's game, two areas of Luka's game that I could point out, but this is kind of honestly what makes great players so great. They could have bad games and still fill up the stat line and still put themselves and the team in a situation to win. Luka 33 tonight, just 3 of 12 from the 3-point line. So the areas that I think Luka's struggled in so far this season, I would say, is his shooting percentage, specifically the 3-point line, and another area is those turnovers. Another 6 turnovers for Luka Doncic tonight. But he did have 33 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists, and the 6 turnovers, like I mentioned. So again, just individual play, something to keep in mind there. I got to imagine these turnovers. I was at a Lakers practice last week. I don't know what day it was. Wednesday, Thursday. I can't remember what day it was. Whatever day that it was. I think it was Thursday. And JJ Redick was talking about one of the areas that he's most frustrated with the Lakers is they shoot some of the least amount of shots per game because of the turnover situation for the Lakers. So Luka's not helping in that department with 6 turnovers tonight. And I think everybody would agree if Lakers are going to go and beat really good teams, they got to play a lot better, clean up a lot of things what they did tonight. Reeves had 22 points, 1 of 8 from the 3-point line for Austin Reeves. I kept seeing Reeves. Once a timeout was called, Reeves would basically keep the ball and fire away during some of these timeouts. He was just trying to get into some kind of rhythm. So he clearly wasn't in a rhythm. Had the 10 dimes. You got to like that. Or actually, I'm sorry, had 4 dimes. He had 10 rebounds. So I'm looking at the wrong stat here. One of the things I will say between LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves, and this is not going to be a surprise at all. This is just what's going to happen during the season. 20 assists between the two of them. I mean, between the three of them, they could easily have 25, 27 assists between the three of them in some of these games, but Lakers just didn't shoot well. Awful from the 3-point line, just 10 of 38 from the 3-point line. That's why some of the looks Lakers were taking too, they weren't terrible looks. I mean, a couple of the shots I saw, Rui Hachimura taking wide open looks. You're like, oh, that's going in. Nothing. Austin Reeves getting some good looks. Oh, that's going in. Nothing. LeBron kind of flat-footed. LeBron looked a little bit different today. He did not look as, I don't know if comfortable is the right word, but there were some moments he looked comfortable, other moments that he didn't. But let me just get through some of these individual performances. So Austin gives you the 22 points, the 10 rebounds, the 4 assists. LeBron gives you the 17 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. And Rui Hachimura chips in for the Lakers with 13 points and 6 rebounds. That's your starting lineup right there. We'll talk about Ayton in a little bit. Only played 13 minutes. So, we'll see. Ayton does not come back in the second half. We'll see. I think they said a knee contusion. We'll see if that has any effect on him the rest of the way. There's other players I want to talk about. I want to hit on Maxi Kleber as well, so we'll do that in just a second. Want to talk about Marcus Smart firing up too many threes. We'll do that as well. But before I do so, let's take a look at everybody's comments, their thoughts on this game, and then go from there. Am I being too critical here? Am I being too critical about a win? Am I bitching too much about a win? I might be. I might be. You know why it is? Let me tell you why it is. I just want to see them against good teams play good basketball. I'm sorry, against bad teams. Just kind of, hey, we're not messing with our food here too much. So I think there's a little bit of that. You just wanted to see a better performance just overall by the Lakers. And I thought way too close of a game. Again, if you're messing with your food for the first 3 quarters and then you want to, towards the end of the game say, all right, enough is enough. 4th quarter, we start taking over this game. I thought the Lakers started to do that. And then all of a sudden, an 11-point lead is gone like that. So not exactly ideal. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. This is what we get here. It was a bad win, but a win is a win. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Stop bitching, Slee. Well, I mean, that just kind of comes with the territory. I mean, if you want an honest opinion, sometimes you got to bitch and complain a little bit. For a second seed, it wasn't a good win. Braun almost lost us the game. All right, let's see what else we got here. I see some more here. Okay, a couple other people saying they're not complaining. All right. LeBron didn't look like himself. Let's start looking at some of the comments here. We'll just kind of get a few topics off the comments, and then we'll keep going into some other stuff. LeBron doesn't look like himself. It's weird seeing LeBron play off the ball. That part I'm not too concerned about. I'm not. If we want to do a quick little, LeBron is 2 games in. What do we think so far? 2 games in, and I get it. Yeah, 8 and left. By the way, second quarter knee contusion. I think that's what they called it. So we'll get into that in a little bit here. Let's stay on this topic here for a quick second because few people have some thoughts about LeBron. What do we think 2 games in for LeBron? What do we think? I mean, he had the 11 points, 12 assists in the first game, and really we were complimenting him a ton after that first game on Tuesday. I will say this game, I did notice a lot more, and LeBron a lot more aggressive on offense. That's probably the right way to put it. And also 8 assists. I mean, he took 18 shots tonight. Also 8 assists. I think for LeBron, some of the things I noticed, but I want to just imagine that he's doing this more out of strategy than out of anything else. I think strategically for LeBron, he picks and chooses his times, his moments, when to get back on defense, when to be ultra aggressive and when to be more passive. I really do think he's just kind of feeling his way back in. But there's also moments where, look, he looks like he's 40. There's also moments that he looks like this is his 23rd year in the NBA. Absolutely he does. How could it not be? All right, I'll take a look at some of the LeBron comments here. Slee, what does LeBron provide other than stat padding and taking shots away from Ayton and Reeves? Minus 14, worst on the team again. All right, let's see the plus minus here. He goes minus 14. This is a good example of where, and listen, I'm not gonna push back too far because I think we're just gonna run in circles. But let me tell you why this is a good example of plus minus and how sometimes it's a great stat to use and other times it's not. Do you know how the highest plus minus in this game tonight? It was Marcus Smart. He was a plus 18. Does anybody really think Marcus Smart had the most impact in this game? Because I don't. And do you think LeBron at a minus 14 had the worst impact in this game? Because I don't. Now, sometimes I'm not, I don't want to just pick and choose to make an argument here and say, well, let's use plus minus when it's convenient for my argument, and let's not use plus minus when it's not convenient, because I think that obviously doesn't benefit anybody. Let me tell you what LeBron can do for the Lakers that's beneficial. What LeBron can do that's beneficial is there are times he can orchestrate the offense. There's times he could play off the ball. There's times that he could facilitate to guys like LaRavia and Gabe Vincent and Austin Reeves. There's times he can give Luka a break on the ball. There's times he could bring the ball up the floor and just hand the ball over to Luka. Where his true value is going to come, in my opinion, is in a 7-game set in the playoffs when you have one of the smartest guys to have ever done it. And he's going to have games where he's more efficient, and he's going to have games where he looks better. And I think everybody is kind of trying to fit and figure out what their role is right now. By the way, don't say you can get Austin Reeves more shots. Reeves took 17 shots. It's not like Reeves ain't getting buckets. Don't shoot 1 of 8 from the 3-point line if I'm Austin Reeves. I mean, all these guys have been bad from 3. Good topics, by the way. I like some of the comments here. These comments give me an opportunity to kind of expand on certain topics. So thank you on that. LeBron can play off the ball. Luka doesn't even cut. Luka stands around. Listen, and that's Luka's game. Unfortunately, there's certain things that you can take away from certain players and certain things that you keep or whatever the case is. But Luka's game is this guy is not going to be moving around when LeBron has the ball. LeBron is rusty. Get a chance to start the season. Look, he's basically played 2 games since the playoffs, since they lost against the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games. So the guy is clearly going to be rusty. This is a good comment right here. This is somebody that's paying attention. By the way, I think we'll see a much better version of LeBron, and I don't think we got to wait this long, mid-January. I think you got to wait 30 days. I think before the new year, before we get to January 1st, you'll see a much more smooth, comfortable LeBron James if his body is right. All right, let's see what else we got here. LeBron looked out of it today. He did have a possession, but this wasn't just him. This was kind of part of my frustration watching this game down the stretch. There were some moments for the Lakers. I'll give you guys a couple of them, but there were some moments for the Lakers, and I think maybe it was Stu Lance that said it. He said something to the effect of the Lakers need to stop trying to. It was almost like they were trying not to lose rather than just go win the game. It's like they're watching for the clock. They're just praying and hoping that the clock runs out. By the way, it happens in every sport. I have times you see it in the NFL. You're up 10 and the fourth quarter starting, and then all of a sudden, you just start running the ball and you play super conservative and you're giving the ball back to the other team. And then on defense, you're not aggressive and you're playing back. Next thing you know, you look, there's 3 minutes left in the game and the game is tied. It's playing not to lose. There was a little bit of that from the Lakers. All right, let's get another one. Why blame LeBron? He's still warming up for the season. There's not, maybe you're talking about somebody else. I'm not blaming LeBron for anything that happened today. I think as a team collectively, they were not good. Because I could tell you Luka led the Lakers with 33, 11, and 8. And I could also tell you I don't think Luka had a great game. I know he didn't have a great game. He didn't shoot efficiently from the field. He was awful from the three-point line, and he had 6 turnovers. That's not a Luka night. Are we going to blame that one on LeBron too? Austin Reeves, I didn't think had an impressive night. Ayton obviously was out, only played a handful of minutes in this game, 13 minutes in this game. So it's not like, obviously it's not like there was a lot else going on for the Lakers. All right, let me keep moving here. I'm going to give a quick shout out. I'm going to give a quick shout out here to Kleba, Maxi Kleba. So Kleba, yeah, this is a good comment here too. I'm going to highlight this. I'll come back to this because I think there's a good point there. Maxi Kleba tonight had to play a little bit. Yeah, they had to depend on him. Let's put it that way. We know obviously DeAndre Ayton leaves in the game and only ends up playing 13 minutes. So you're just going to assume second half starts and all of a sudden you have second half starts and you have Jackson Hayes that's in there in the starting lineup. Hayes 18 minutes for the Lakers. But clearly JJ Redick was looking for something different. And here's what he was looking for. Can I have a big that can spread the ball a little bit? Can I have a big that can grab a couple of rebounds, kind of help orchestrate and organize an offense a little bit? I want a veteran in there that knows what he's doing down the stretch of this game. And I thought Kleba did okay. I thought he did all right. Kleba's minutes, I didn't look at Maxi Kleba tonight and say to myself, oh my gosh, get this guy off the floor. No, I thought he was fine. Had kind of a big bucket at the end when Lakers needed a bucket. I mean, granted, Utah still put the pressure on and almost won this game. But I thought Kleba had a good night. I will say the rest of the bench for the Lakers, Gabe Vincent, obviously he's slowly trying to work his way back. I would have liked, this is just me personally, I would have liked to see a little bit of Dalton Connect tonight. Lakers did use 10 guys, but I'd like to see Dalton Connect. LaRavia really a non-factor, didn't do much as well. And then, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I feel like Marcus Smart is really, really getting caught up in just firing threes. And if I'm a team out there that's playing the Lakers and there's so many effective offensive weapons, there's so many players out there that are dangerous. Luka's dangerous. LeBron's going to be dangerous. Austin Reeves is going to be dangerous. There's a lot of dangerous players on this Lakers team. I'm not crazy about Marcus Smart. The only offense he's going to have is just firing away at a three. That's not the most exciting thing for me, and I don't know if that's going to be a good game plan moving forward. I got somebody here saying Marcus was wide open. Got to keep them honest. Here's the problem. I think he's wide open for a reason. And it's not that the guy is Vando and he can't shoot any threes, but what I'm saying is you got to also have a little bit of pressure on that defense where you're not just going to take a three. I think there's other things that Marcus Smart could do. By the way, even if it's taking a quick dribble in and settling for a 15-footer, maybe it is driving the ball to the basket and trying to get to the free throw line. Maybe it is driving the ball to the basket and then kicking to somebody else that can shoot a higher percentage from three. So I'm not crazy about the whole, well, he's open. Yeah, well, there's a reason why some guys are open. I mean, there's a reason why some guys are open. I think Smart falls into that category. Smart did that in Boston. Fans were frustrated with him. We've talked about that before. I remember seeing, Marcus Smart in some of those playoffs games, those postseason games where he would fire away, and every shot he took was one less shot for Jaylen Brown or, Jason Tatum or whatever the case is. Again, I'm not saying Marcus Smart don't take 2 to 3 threes a game. Just don't take 6 or 7 or 8, or every shot that you take is a three. That's the part that I'm not crazy about. Except the fact Lakers aren't contenders. All right, what is that definition? What's that definition of they're not contenders? They're 12-4 on the season. They're getting off to a great start. Nobody would have predicted through 16 games. I mean, listen, if you want to say, if the question is, are they on the level of the Oklahoma City Thunder? They're not, but nobody is. Are they on the level of the Denver Nuggets? I don't know. We haven't played Denver yet. But I do think Denver right now, you look on, that team, the way they started Nikola Jokic, Denver's probably going to have the edge there. Are Lakers better than Houston? I don't know. Lakers haven't played them yet. Houston's a really good team and very, very well coached. So there's definitely some teams in the Western Conference. Obviously, everybody's got to look out for. They got to pay attention to. But ultimately, I don't really know what to do with this comment. I mean, what makes you a contender in the Western Conference? Is it being a top 3 team, top 2 team, top 4 team? What if the best team is better than everybody else? Does that mean nobody's a contender? Because the Thunder are better than every team in the Eastern Conference and every team in the Western Conference. Then who's a contender then? So I think 12-4 is a pretty damn good start for the Lakers. Let's get a couple of these supers in here. Appreciate the supers. Hey, Alan, Reeves keeps doing too many turnovers. Reeves didn't look comfortable tonight. There was never a flow for Austin Reeves tonight. I do think that there is, if I'm being completely honest, I do think there's something about 5 days off can work against the Lakers a little bit. Not to make an excuse for them, but it can. It didn't look like they had a lot more flow against Milwaukee. Maybe in that Jazz game, there was more flow as well as you got to that second half and they started pulling away. They played a lot of games in that stretch. So it's kind of damn. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like, hey, they play so many games. Like, well, we don't have enough rest. Then they get rest. And it's like, well, they were rusty and they got too much rest. All right. Is what it is. Thank you for the super, brother. Appreciate you. Get another super in here. DA leaving early really hurt us. Needed his size. Yeah, hopefully Ayton's all right. I mean, that's, obviously the best thing I could say is that good part of the Lakers' success so far this year has had Ayton in the mix. So they're going to need Ayton, especially on that game coming up on Tuesday against the Clippers, not because the Clippers are good, but because they got some size there too, and we could have that depth of Ayton. This one that I saw a little bit earlier, take the win 1 of 82. I got to be honest with you. It's a good point. I mean, there's kind of a little bit of a reference to this. Lakers obviously just squeak by 108, 106. Impossible not to have games like this and expect more because more of those will come down the road. Okay, let me do this real quick. I just want to point out something real quick from a team perspective, and then we'll keep hitting on a few different things as well. 3-point shooting for the Lakers. That's an issue. That's an issue. And it's been an issue so far this season. They're just not consistent from 3. In today's NBA, listen, I'm not telling you they got to be the best 3-point shooting in the three-point shooting team in the NBA, but they got to be a lot better than where they are. And I know statistically right now they're struggling from 3. Some of their turnovers, shot attempts. Let me show you guys this. And yes, some of this might have to do with free throws and everything else. But Utah took 94 shots. Lakers took 86. They don't take enough shots because they're committing so many turnovers. So a couple of stats to keep in mind in regards to that. But overall for the Lakers, 14 turnovers, not the end of the world. They've had games that were a lot worse than that. All right. Let me give a quick shout out here. Thank you to one of our partners. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. So shout out to a great partner that's been a part of this channel for over a year now and has been a great partner from back in the days when I was on radio. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. If you need an injury attorney, I hope you don't. Things happen in life. It's a wrongful death case. It's a serious injury. Something happens out on the road. Something happens somewhere in public, in a parking lot, whatever the case is. And you're like, I don't know what the hell to do, and I don't know where to start. Start with Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. If you go to the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, you can get a free consultation. So you don't pay anything. Somebody will be there to help you. Obviously, we've had people, and I've mentioned this before, who have come through the website and have reached out to Brad Wallace and asked for his direction and asked for his expertise. If you're ever in a situation and you need somebody, you got somebody that's can represent anybody in the state of California and is the best in the business and is somebody that has been a great partner on this channel. So please, if you ever need an injury attorney, try reaching out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, and I'd be happy to help with an introduction. All right, let's keep going here. By the way, 12-4, the Lakers record. 12-4. 12-4. Pretty freaking impressive. I mean, I don't care if you want to be the harshest critic. You want to be somebody that, however you want to look at the Lakers and however you want to look at the roster construction, and maybe you're saying to yourself, oh, they're going to choke in the playoffs. I don't like the team that, however you want to bitch and complain about the Lakers. They're 12-4. That is a really, really good start in the NBA. I'll tell you how good that start is. If I just look at the entire league, forget just the Western Conference. If you look at the entire in the entire NBA, if I'm correct, I think it's the third best record in the NBA right now. The Lakers have the third best record in the NBA right now. 17-1 Oklahoma City Thunder. They're freaking good. They've won 9 in a row, by the way. The Pistons, 14-2. They've won 12 in a row. I don't know if the Pistons are good. I had no idea. I mean, I got the NBA League Pass. I got to start watching a couple Pistons games, and I want to see them against some good quality opponents. Let me look at this real quick. Who would have thought that? I'm breaking down the Pistons schedule here. They got a good opponent coming up that I can watch. Who they have here? Indiana, Boston, Orlando. They got a game at Miami on November 29th. That'd be a fun game to watch. Miami's playing some good ball right now, too. So you got the Oklahoma City Thunder with the best record in the NBA. The Pistons at 14-2. Lakers 12-4. I don't know why they're ahead of Denver. Maybe Denver's also 12-4. I don't know. Maybe it's Western Conference Division, whatever it is. Lakers have the third best record in the NBA. I don't want to hear anybody saying that Lakers are not a contender. Third best record in the NBA. And what is your definition of a contender? Because if you got a team that's getting off to this good of a start, you got one of the top 5 players in the NBA, you're in the mix. Doesn't guarantee a path for you. It doesn't mean you're coming out of the West, but you're in the mix. 12-4 record for the Lakers. All right, next game for the Lakers, by the way. Take a quick look at that. Next game for the Lake Show, they got the Clippers coming up on Tuesday. I had to read this 19 times. I'm like, wait, what time do they play? What are you talking about? No, they don't play at 8 o'clock. What is this? What do we, in Hawaii? No, they don't play at 8 o'clock. Lakers have a game, NBC Peacock, coming up on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Tip-off won't be till about 8:15. Nobody has a life anymore? I got to do a post-game show after, and I got to turn around. I got to do a morning show after. What's going on with everybody? Who's setting the schedule? It's 7:59 right now on a Sunday. In 48 hours, Lakers and Clippers won't even have tipped off. Here I am, 30 minutes into the post-game show. Next game for the Lakers, they got the Clippers. Clippers, by the way, 5-12 on the year. They are one of the most confusing. I don't know if confusing is the right word. Disappointing maybe might be the right word. But what the expectations were for the Clippers and what they are reality-wise, little bit of a shock here, right? A little bit of a surprise. And maybe some people thought, look, let's just say the Clippers weren't playing good ball, and let's say they weren't that good of a team. Okay, that's fine. You would say, all right, maybe they're 500. You got, before the season even started, you had the thing that was going on with Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer and the company that went bankrupt. And did they pay Kawhi under the table? Did they circumvent the salary cap? You got that piece. Then the season starts and they start struggling. And then guys are in and out of the lineup. And then Bradley Beal is now out for the entire season with a season-ending. He had season-ending surgery on his left hip. They are a complete mess. And one of their guys who handles the pre, half, and post on 570. So obviously for the Clippers broadcast, he's going to join me on Tuesday, and he's going to help us preview that game and help me understand what the hell happened to the Clippers. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's get another one in here. Lakers 12-4. I called it. I called 13-4. Believe it. Here's what happens. I appreciate the super, and I'm just going to have to take your word for it, because here's what typically happens. I just get people sometimes on the broadcast, Sliwa, I called it. I called it, brother. I'm like, I don't know if you called it. I just read your comment, and maybe you called it, or maybe you just decided, I'm just going to tell Sliwa I called it. I have no idea if you called it. But if you did, pretty good job. I didn't call 12-4. I'll tell you that much. Got people just hitting me left and right. Hey, Slee, do you remember back in October when I had that comment? Do you remember that? Around 8:15 in the morning, I hit you with a comment. I told you, go back. Go check the receipts. I can't check the receipts. I'm not going to go back. Let's get another one here. By the way, thank you for the supers. Luka needs more off-ball movement from everyone. Too much standing around. The four-man athletic shooting wing and lob threats like 24 Mavs. That part's true. Yeah. And by the way, good basketball typically involves movement. The less movement you have, the less passing you have, I don't think it's a recipe for success. Sometimes I do worry with the Lakers. I've said this before. There's too much Luka, you go. AR, you go. Like too much just in the game on Tuesday when Lakers played the Jazz, there was some beautiful ball movement here and there. I thought that was phenomenal, and I thought it was fun to watch. And I also think it makes it really, really difficult on other defenses. Today, that wasn't really the case. Tonight, that was not exactly the strength of the Lakers. All right. Okay. And listen, I believe you. I believe you. I'm out on that one. You're in. Okay, let's get another one in here. Now that is not a playoff team. Talking about the Clippers there. Looks like Clippers going to get Kawhi back, and Dallas is going to get AD back against us. Okay. I'm in Michigan, 11 o'clock. Yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. There's certain parts of the country, I don't know how you guys watch sports. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's so late. We got it good out here. But an 8 o'clock tip-off? Yes, I agree. Good teams win on off nights. Yes, I do agree with that as well. You find a way to win. It's ugly. I mean, there was nothing special about tonight's game. I've done this a couple of times where I'm like basically almost done with my thumbnail. I've created it. It looks good. I'm like, all right, hey, yeah, I'm good to go. And the next thing I look, I'm looking at the score. I'm like, I got to change the entire thumbnail here. I had to change the title. One of my titles was Lakers pull away in the fourth quarter because they were pulling away in the fourth quarter. And the next thing I see, I'm like, yeah, they just barely survived. Number 2 in the West, baby. Impressive. Very, very, very impressive. Pistons legit. All right, you watch it because I have not been watching it. Better fit, Sabonis or Zach LaVine? Sabonis needs to get out of Sacramento. That's what needs to happen. That's a nice, talented basketball player that needs to be with a good organization. I mean, I'm a fan of Domantas Sabonis. I don't even think this is a question. 8-2 8-2 on the road. We were below 500 last year, 17-21. Yeah, they were saying that on the broadcast. Let's take a look at that. I appreciate you bringing that up. They were saying that on the broadcast today. They were talking a little bit about how good the Lakers have been on the road. And then they were mentioning they get a lot of home cooking coming up here. So let me point that out here real quick, because to have that many of your games on the road the way the Lakers have had and still be second in the Western Conference, that's very impressive. All right, here are the Lakers home. They're 4-2. They've only played 6 games at home so far. They're 8-2 on the road. 8-2. That's really impressive. And looking at this stretch of game for the Lakers, there's a stretch coming up here. I'll just point out like the next 5 or 10 games. I'm curious how many of these games are going to be at home. So counting 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 4 in a row at home. Then they go out on another 6-game road trip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-game road trip, and then a lot of home cooking. So they'll get 4 at home, then go on a 6-game road trip, and then imagine how many more games they're going to have for really after Christmas or starting on Christmas, where they're just going to have a ton of games stacked up to be at home. Obviously very impressive. But this is a great comment, because it does show that the Lakers have kind of put themselves in a position to get off to this kind of start and still have played so many road games. All right, let's see what we got here. Slee, Lakers win. They play poorly. That is the mark of a contender. We are looking at a 60-win season right now. I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's the goal. I don't think that's going to be realistic. I think there's a grind of an 82 games. I think for the Lakers, you got some older players here where I don't think the goal is going to be try to win as many games as you can in the regular season. But, they won 50 last year and were number 3 seed in the West. So, and the West is a little bit different. Whatever you thought the Western Conference was going to be, it's not going to be. Because if you thought the Clippers might be in the mix, and maybe Memphis is going to be in the mix, and Dallas is going to be in the mix, clearly there's teams that you thought were going to be there that might be sellers. Sacramento looks like a seller. New Orleans, Memphis, Clippers, Dallas. You got 5-6 teams I can name right off the top of my head that are all well below 500. The Jazz are well below 500. That's 6 teams in the West that none of them have any, interest in probably winning at this point, or maybe they have interest and they're just not good enough or they got injuries, which means there are going to be teams that bar in the Western Conference will get a little bit higher, because teams are going to get chances to feast on some of those bottom feeders. But 60 is a lot. That's a lot. I know you're optimistic and everything else. That's a lot. That's a lot. Let me look at something here real quick. Can I look at the other side real quick? I'm going to bring something up on Lauri Markkanen real quick. There was a time, I think last year in the offseason, not this past summer, maybe at the trade deadline, there was a moment where it was like, hey, Lauri Markkanen, if you put the right package together, you may be able to get him from Utah. And I know the Warriors were trying to get him, and they didn't end up giving whatever package that they thought. And I remember Sacramento was mentioned. And Sacramento didn't go out and make a deal. And I forget. Sacramento went for like hey, you could swing for the fences and get Lauri Markkanen, or you can get like a C+ player or B-. And I can't remember off the top of my head who they ended up trying to go get. I know obviously they traded De'Aaron Fox, but there was a moment where I'm like, if you could go figure out a way to get Lauri Markkanen, yes, you're going to have to give a lot back. Yes, there's going to be draft capital and everything else. Dude's a nice player. I mean, there's some players in this league that, let me see Lauri Markkanen's stats for tonight. I know his stats just in general. The guy's an absolute stud. But let's look at his stats tonight and then his individual play. There are certain players that I'd really like to see play on good teams. So I can actually enjoy the way they play. Markkanen didn't have the best night tonight, but closed out the game a lot stronger. On the season, Lauri Markkanen is averaging 30 a game with 6 rebounds. He's a good player. He's just on the wrong team. And I don't think that's going to get any better. That's just obviously, his situation is, but there's certain players that are on certain squads that you're like, damn, that guy, if that guy was on a real competitive team where the franchise knew what the hell they were doing, imagine if Lauri Markkanen worked his way to Miami or was in San Antonio. I mean, just naming off some teams. I don't know, was with the Warriors. Think about how good he would be in the NBA. Instead, you watch him 2-3 times a year because he plays the Lakers. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to see this guy again the rest of the year. All right, a couple scores around the NBA real quick. I'll take a look at a couple more comments and we're going to call it a day. Heat, by the way, are balling out. You want to look at a stupid trade? Go look at the Clippers trading Norman Powell. That's why I'm always weary making deals with good franchises. Norman Powell had 32 tonight, 127 to 117. They beat the Sixers. Hawks are 11-7. Without Trae Young, they're still winning a lot of games. That might tell you something about Trae Young. 113 to 110. You shopping Trae Young if you're the Atlanta Hawks. What can you get for him? The Celtics, even though they don't have Tatum, they're still 9-8 on the season and playing good enough ball to be in that playoff mix. Cavs beat the Clippers. I mentioned 120 to 105. Raptors beat the Nets 119 to 109. Thunder are 17-1, beat the Blazers. I want to say the only loss the Thunder have are to the Blazers. Do you know how good of a record 17-1 is? Holy Jesus. That's unbelievable. 122 to 95, Thunder over the Blazers. And then Suns beat the Spurs 111 to 102. So Spurs suffered their fifth loss of the season. So something to keep in mind as far as scores around the NBA. Let's get a few more comments in, and then we're gonna call it an evening here. Thank you all for being here. If you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, would really appreciate that. Like every other team, we have our best chance of doing well if everybody stays healthy. That was a problem with a key player like AD. AD was very good if healthy, but he was injured so much, which is also why a lot of people are also saying to themselves, what the F were you doing when you made that trade? Jazz got Lauri in part of the Donovan Mitchell trade. Okay. Lauri's also a two-way player. Look, you know what I like about this chat? You guys freaking give love where love is. You give credit where credit's due. He's a good player. He's a really nice player. Lauri is wasting his career. He got money, though. He did get paid. Great win because they played poorly. All right. So it looks like we got everybody. All right, I got one quick little story I'm going to tell here real quick, and then we're going to call it a day, and we're going to get out of here. And I appreciate you guys being here. So this just kind of tells a quick story of how sports sometimes could kind of, I don't know, kind of set the table for whether it's friendships, family, or something along those lines. I had an uncle of mine, unfortunately, really good man, passed away a couple of days ago and was fighting with something for a while. And anyways, rest in peace to him. And his last couple of days while he was in the hospital, I had his daughter text me and said, "Hey, what channel is the Laker game on?" They were in the hospital, whatever the case is. So I'm like, I think this game's on ESPN or maybe it's on Spectrum or whatever it was on, right? And she's like, "Yeah, he really wants to watch the game." And I tell the story because, it's kind of a trip to me because when I was growing up, there's a lot of us, especially down here in San Diego, you got this huge Middle Eastern community and, they're coming from Iraq. Like, what do they know about all these NBA teams? But when they got to the States, there's a lot of people that, specifically out here in Southern California, obviously root for the Lakers. And I don't even know if it reminds them of the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids. Like there's certain teams in sports where it's like, yep, everybody knows that team. That's really kind of what the Lakers are to the brand and everything else. And I'm thinking about it and I'm going back like my childhood growing up. You know how many freaking memories I have with family members that's tied around Lakers basketball? And same thing with my dad. My dad passed years away. It was the same thing. It was like these connections you have. Some of the best memories that I had as a kid growing up, we would be watching. And it doesn't have to be Lakers basketball. In this case, it is Lakers basketball. But so much of your memories are tied around sports, tied around franchises, or tied around the city that whatever the case is. And it just kind of, that dawned on me. It's like, damn, here's somebody that towards the end of his time was like, hey, why don't you turn on the game? And it just goes to how some of this stuff connects everybody for, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. So anyway, shout out to him. Rest in peace to him. Yeah, thought I'd share that story with everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. And I will be back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you for always hanging out. And I know there's a lot of places you guys can catch a post-game show. So thank you for catching your post-game reaction here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody.